What is up, everybody, and welcome to the PlayStation Forecast, episode 54. No, wait, did I get 54? There we go. I am your host, Alex Derrickson. Hope you all had a great last 7 days. I know mine was good. I was sound, felt good. Played some of them their Vidya games. Where do I start? There's three I want to talk about. Two are kind of some usual haunts. One is somewhat new. So we'll knock out the usual haunts first. Played more of the Division 2. Now, if you've kept up with me, especially if you follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/pressx2alex, you'll see that I was real big into the Division. It's all I talked about, all I tweeted about, all I wanted to do. At work, wanted to play the Division. At home, wanted to play the Division. Playing the Division, wanted to be a little further in the Division. It's just the way it went. Now, I've realized, I thought I was so sure, everybody. I was so positive in the fact that I thought I'd gotten over the hump about these these games as a service, these games that are just abnormally large, moderately obtuse. And I thought I'd gotten through it. I thought I'd gotten over the hump. My worry, my fear, I thought they had been assuaged. How wrong I was. Now, don't get me wrong. The Division 2, still a bomb-ass game. Still probably currently right now my game of the year, because out of 2019 releases, I've played like 2 between the Division and Resident Evil 2. I've definitely spent more time in the Division. Now, the reason I say I feel like I was wrong was because I've realized, I've come to terms with and come to grips with that these games are not games you can just pick up and play. They aren't sporadic endeavors. They aren't something you can just like pop in and out 1 or 2 hours every few days, right? Like, so many people get ahead of you and you start falling behind. You forget where you were. You forget how stuff plays. And that's all. You can get those bearings back about you. But for a game that is that size and that large, it is definitely designed for you to spend 4 hours a night in there, 5 hours a night, maybe a couple hours a night every now and then. But it's not a game that you're like, I'm going to put an hour in tonight and then not play it for 4 days and maybe put another hour in. And I've realized my attention span for these kinds of games it isn't what it used to be. And that's a me thing, as I so frequently say when I gripe about some stuff. But the game is so fantastic and so massive, and no pun intended given the developer, but it's one of those where I get in there and I'm not overwhelmed or anything like that, but I kind of just get in there and I'm like, all right, like, I want to do a main level mission. And it's like, you should be level 10 for that. And I'm like, what level am I? And they're like, 6? Maybe just dick around for a little bit. And I think that's where the hard line kind of comes in from when I initially compared this to a Mass Effect, where I think mechanically, yes, it is of that same ilk. But when you get into the functionality of it, with Mass Effect 2 and 3, you could just like boom, 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 pop, 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 knock out these mainline missions and kind of keep that story going. So you can kind of keep that feel and like that push, right? And with the Division, and yes, with Mass Effect, you absolutely do need to do the side missions, if nothing else, to experience more of that world. But you can ostensibly go just boom, 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 mainline, and, get in and out in 20-ish hours. With the Division, the gap there, the gap assessment in these levels are kind of like okay, I'm 6 right now, but the next mainline mission is 10, so I could get that XP, but also probably get my ass handed to me over and over and over again. And that's where something like clans could definitely be super helpful, and I can see that, and I acknowledge that. But it's one of those where if you're me and it's a Tuesday and it's like 9:30 at night, you only want to play for 45 minutes to an hour, roping a bunch of friends together to be like, hey, come play this game with me for the length of a TV show. It's like, is that worth it? And so I'm trying to pop off some side missions here and there, but again, it's skill versus will in this kind of situation where I'm like, God, this is frustrating. I'm getting towards the end of a mission and then getting decimated, and it just feels off balance. And I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, okay, I need to get people together. I need to get into a clan. I need to do all this stuff. And I know I'm sitting on clan invites. I got to get there. I'm sorry, but it's just, I don't know. I'm kind of starting to find myself bouncing between a few things, and the Division isn't falling to the wayside, but it's also one of those where it's like, yeah, I'll get back. I'll get back into it. I think very full bore here, not too shortly. I don't think it'll be too long before I'm really like knee deep back into this. I think I'm just kind of making sure that there's no FOMO with a handful of other new releases like MLB The Show. I definitely know I'm not touching Sekiro, but then I've got Days Gone right around the corner, stuff like that. So I'm trying to figure out the schedule, what I'm going to do within the realm of like the Wednesday streams and stuff like that too, and see where the Division fits in that. That's kind of where I'm at there, though. If you missed the Wednesday stream from this past week, I did Overwatch with the goal of finding my main, finding out who is going to be my go-to guy, because I'd been doing or girl go-to hero, and I'd been doing Bastion, and I kind of found that Bastion is there's two sides of the Bastion fence. One is you just mop the fucking floor with everybody, or you play against people that are much better than you and you never even get a chance to get started. So Jake in the chat, friend of the show, said try Torbjorn. I'm assuming that's right. And fell in love with that guy. Fell in love with that character. I dicked around a little with McCree. And McCree, for me, is too shootery. And it doesn't play to my strengths, whereas I'm much better at a distance, kind of run, gun, pop, hide, kind of deal. And Torbjorn kind of works with that, where you can set up the turret, you can run, kind of do your own business, come back, assist the turret, repair the turret, throw down a new turret, and just kind of build up your ult and then run that out. Jesus Christ, I love that game. Those 2 hours of that stream flew by. Now, I know I'd said those streams would be available later on YouTube, but the Overwatch one is not. That is a miscommunication between me and Restream, which is the service I use to kind of pop it all out to all Twitch, YouTube, and now Periscope / Twitter. And more on that later. But it was an error where YouTube had rebranded the YouTube streaming as YouTube Events, so I had to desync my YouTube account from Restream and resync it as YouTube Events. I did not know that. I didn't figure that out until I get to this next stream that I did and next game that I played. But sorted that out. That shouldn't be an issue going forward. So this Wednesday, don't really know. I'm tossing between 2 games right now. Not really sure which one I'm going to be going with. Kind of waiting to hear back on a couple emails and then kind of seeing where the chips fall heading into Wednesday night at 8. But the last thing I played, I streamed the first episode of this. And that's all I've gotten to play so far. Is I popped in, started that there Walking Dead final season. Now you know me. If you have watched this show for any number of weeks, 54 or 4, you've probably heard me talk about my love, not only for Telltale, but for the point-and-click adventure game, for the story-driven walking simulator kind of situations, right? And I look at it, and I jumped in. The last episode came out, and so I was like, you know what? Let's jump in. Let's see what this is about. Let's go. So I jumped in. Now, the backstory for this, right, is the first 2 episodes came out right before episode 3 launched. Telltale unexpectedly, shuttered, closed their doors, laid everybody off unexpectedly, kind of unannounced, 24 hours notice. They were done. Skybound Games picks up the license, and using some help from other former Telltale employees and whatnot, get 3 and 4 done and out. So I jumped into episode 1. It is a slog. Like, that is not an auspicious start to the season by any fathomable stretch. I thought the pacing was just whack. The visuals were pretty par for a Telltale game. Like, nothing really blew me away. I thought the lighting and some of it looked really almost like Apple II-ish. I don't know if they were trying to go for this weird, like, look of, like, the lighting for, like, oh, it's dimly lit or the shadows, but it seemed more like it was used as a weird, like, low-level mask to kind of hide some faults, and as you got closer, it loaded the rest of the color palette in. But it had this weird green tint to it, like if you like stuff from a distance, as you kind of walked through things that were supposed to be silhouetted or lit under low light, it looked more like Return of Obra Dinn did than like what you would expect from Telltale, and that whole like kind of cel shaded comic style art. Getting into the story, where do I start? Okay, so keep in mind this is only episode 1 that I'm talking about. I was hoping to have had more played, if not the whole season. Such be the adult life, but I thought the pacing was miserable. It was so slow. Like there were parts of it where like, and this thing's maybe 2.5 hours long, and it felt like 4. Like every time I looked down, I was like, oh cool, that had to have been 30, 35 minutes, and it was like 5 or 10, maybe 8. And I'm just like, whoo, okay. And I think and this is on me, but Telltale has a very systematic style of trophy lists, where you can kind of use them as a barometer for where you're at. And it was chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, episode done. This trophy list is a little different. It's got some collectibles involved, and that's neither here nor there. I'll go back, I'll get the platinum, whatever. But there's 3 chapters, almost like acts really, in per episode, and that makes it feel so much longer because you feel like you're doing so much less in such a longer period of time, which makes, again, the pacing issues where it's just slow. I mean, it literally is just slow, peak, slow, peak. And like it's either all rest or there's like almost like an erratic heartbeat, to this episode. And it's more problematic in the fact that it doesn't do anything to push me to play episode 2. Like Last Frontier or New Frontier season 3 wasn't anything to write home about, but at least the ends of episode 1 and episodes 2 were enough to push me to 2 and 3. And then there was by the time I got through 3, I was pretty much all in on just like, well, I might as well finish 4 and 5. There's nothing at the end of 1 that made me go, shit, it's 1 a.m. Let's dive into episode 2. Who gives a shit? There was nothing that the following morning made me go, let's do episode 2. I ended up like that next morning. I think it was like Saturday morning, right? I streamed it Friday night, I think. And it was Saturday morning. I woke up. I was like, I had the house to myself, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go play Tetris Effect instead, because I'd rather do that. And Tetris Effect is amazing, and it's transcendent, and I love it. It's a religious experience. But as far as The Walking Dead's concerned, there was nothing there, and there remains nothing there that pushes me towards episode 2 outside of the fact of just getting to episode 4 and fucking finishing it. That's where I'm at with it. Is at this point, there's 3 episodes left. I may as well do it. It's 6 hours at best, probably. Based off the first episode, it's 6 to 8 hours. I can do that. That's pretty easy. Low effort, It's just so frustrating that series struggled so mightily to recapture, to even remotely come close to what to season 1 was. You have like those oh shit moments in season 2, right? And then season 3 is kind of weird and it felt tacked on, but then you're like, there's going to be a 4th season, so maybe that'll tie that in. And really, if the prologue to the final season, the first episode of the final season, is anything like the rest of the game, like season 3 was just gone, shot, like not even talked about. Just roll the hands up, throw it in the garbage, burn the trash, throw it in the landfill, and build a house on it. But there's nothing there that even was emblematic that, hey, like season 3 was a thing we're going to talk about later, and maybe it gets brought up in episode 2, 3, 4, whatever. But it's one of those where it almost makes you wonder why season 3 even existed, if not to just like kind of like lightly just meh the Clementine arc, right? Just like a little tap, and just like, we're going to push it a little bit further. It's like advancing your pawns in chess. And there was no, for a season that lacked a lot of substance in season 3, there's nothing that I saw so far in season 4 that's pushed it to be like, no, look, like this was the reason why. drink of water. That aspect of it is frustrating. Because so badly, I just want to feel that same raw emotion that I felt with the end of 1 and the end of 2 and like parts of 3. But the other problem I have is I thought episode 1 of the final season ended almost too similarly to episode 1 of the 3rd season, where the thing happens, like the climax point, the very end of it, like happens. That's supposed to be like, boom, go to episode 2. And like it worked with season 3 because it was unexpected and it was surprising and it kind of like took you by surprise. But seeing it again in the final season, but with it, because so spoilers for Walking Dead: The New Frontier, which is the 3rd season. The first episode ends in this massive guns blazing firefight that is sparked by a catalyst that I will not spoil. Now, into the final season, it is that catalyst, but no firefight. There's no wild breakout. There's nothing, like I said, like an event happens that caused me to go mouth agape and go, oh shit. But then like 5 minutes later, you're at the end of it and you're at the end of the episode and you're just like, okay, that seems familiar. All right. So I don't know. I don't know where the story's going to go, why it needed to progress. Like it's a 6.25 out of 10 would be what I rate that. But that gets you caught up on everything I've been playing. So let's do it. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the PlayStation Forecast, and it does come to you each and every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/PressX2Alex and podcast services around the globe, including Spotify. And remember, if you want to get the show early, you can get it live Monday night as it happens on twitch.tv/PressX2Alex. Now, remember, when I do the show live on Monday nights, I am not in the chat. You can be in the chat, and you can chat your head off. I will see the chat after the show because I'm too focused on making sure this baby is caulked up, watertight, and out to sea. Now, if you want to support the show and let your voice be heard, you can write in to psforms.pressx2alex.com, where you can submit questions, comments, commentaries, concerns, and whatever else you may want to talk about. Or you can get at me directly at twitter.com/pressx2alex, where I am a lot of the day. And remember, if you want to support the show, this labor of love is almost entirely self-produced and self-funded by yours truly, but you can contribute at the $1 tier at patreon.com/pressx2alex, where there's just one tier to rule them all. No content behind a paywall, no content behind any sort of gate of any kind. You can just, for $1 a month, you can help keep the mics and the lights on. But if you don't have that buck, that is totally okay. The show will always be here for you at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube and podcast services. Now, without further ado, let's get into the news. It's a brisk news week, right? It's nothing. I don't know what this means if you're watching the video version. I just like air rubbed my breasts. But it's a light week. We got some stuff to kind of talk about, some stuff to kind of not talk about, some stuff we're going to kind of dance around. Now, the first bit of news here is the Sony chairman and former CEO Kaz Hirai is officially retiring. This comes by way of Engadget, written by Steve Dent. So Steve Dent over at Engadget. Chairman Kazuro Hirai, who guided Sony through some difficult times over the last 5 years, has announced his retirement from the company. Kaz was appointed CEO and president of Sony back in 2012, shortly after it lost $6.4 billion in 2011. After slashing costs and refocusing the business on gaming and imaging, he brought Sony back to profitability, with the company earning $6.7 billion in fiscal 2017. Hirai stepped down from his CEO role shortly afterwards, handing the reins to CFO Kenichiro Yoshida. Quote, "Since passing the baton of CEO to Yoshida-san last April as chairman of Sony, I have had the opportunity to both ensure a smooth transition and provide support to Sony's management," said Hirai in a statement. "I am confident that everyone at Sony is fully aligned under Yoshida-san's strong leadership and are ready to build an even brighter future for Sony," As such, I have decided to depart from Sony, which has been part of my life for the last 35 years. I would like to extend my warmest gratitude to all of our employees and stakeholders who have supported me throughout this journey." End quote. Hirai will leave as chairman on June 18th while continuing to act in an emeritus, fucking Latin, man, role as a senior advisor when needed. Quote, "Hirai-san and I have been working on management reforms together since December of 2013, said Yoshida. While he will be retiring from both chairman and our board of directors, we look forward to his continuing high-level support to Sony's management that encompasses a breadth of diverse businesses." End quote. Hirai has been with Sony, it's Hirai. Kaz Hirai has been with Sony for 35 years now, starting in the music division and eventually heading the gaming business. He replaced Howard Stringer as CEO in 2012 during a period when Sony financial news was largely dire. Shortly afterwards, Sony launched the PlayStation 4, and the console has since gone on to sell nearly 100 million units, becoming the company's biggest money spinner by far. Sony also launched its first full-frame mirrorless camera, the Alpha A7, in 2013. That line, along with Sony's image sensor business, has also been a big success for the company. Despite the success in gaming and cameras, Kaz was never able to turn around Sony's mobile division, which continues to lose money. Still, he came in when Sony's fortunes were in steep decline and will leave the company in a lot better shape than he found it. So, best wishes to Kaz and his retirement and future endeavors. Well done. Water to a job well done. All right, next news comes by way of the PlayStation blog and one Sihoban Reddy, the studio director for Media Molecule, where Dreams Early Access begins April 16th. Hot damn. Let's see. Dreams Early Access starts April 16th, 2019. We can't wait to welcome you in to get creating and be able to have a game jam with all of you. We've been working on Dreams for a long time now, and the core of Dreams, the creation bit, is ready. There's so much we want to do with and add to Dreams, but to start, we want players to be able to see their creations on their own TV screen and be able to have all the tools they need to make games or stories or art or music accessible from their couch. The future of Dreams is exciting. We hope the early access gives us the feedback we need to make Dreams an amazing space for creators and players alike for years to come. We know you may still have questions. We've highlighted some key points below to help you navigate early access and beyond. Early access is exactly that, early entry into Dreams, designed for creators to get hands-on with the tools. It won't feature everything that the full release will have, our story mode being a big piece of that, but you'll get our full tool set to creating or our interactive tutorials and arcade games, templates, and additional content created by Media Molecule, and access to what you, the community, made during the Dreams Creator Beta. You'll also be getting the first hands-on with new features and content as we add them. Dreams Early Access will cost $29.99 in the US and $39.99 in Canada. Let's see which initially Dreams Early Access will be available in US, Canada, and all European territories. At launch, Dreams Early Access will be in English and French in North America. You'll be able to purchase Dreams Early Access from PlayStation Store on April 16th, 2019. You cannot pre-order it. Let's see, if I buy Dreams Early Access, does that mean I get access to the full version of the game when it's released without paying any extra/twice? Early Access is intended for creators who will participate and contribute to Dreams Early Access, and in return, will have the full version of Dreams upon release. We don't have a release date for the full version of Dreams to share right now, but when we do, you'll know all about it. And then we'll keep telling you, and then probably tell you another 5,672 times. Early Access is the launch of the creation tools of Dreams, and this will roll into the full version of the game. Dreams VR is not included in the initial Early Access offering. It is still planned for Dreams, and we're super excited for it. There is no NDA, so you can create, stream, and share to your heart's content. Excuse me. I had some Chinese food earlier, and it's just not, Let's see. So Dreams Early Access is limited, yes, but it is a big limit. That being said, to avoid disappointment, we do recommend you purchase as soon as you can to enjoy all of the creator tools available. So the question was raised about that as to why this wasn't shown at State of Play, because it was announced like the next day or 48 hours later. It was within the first 2 days after State of Play that Media Molecule came out, and they were like, hey, Dreams is in early access. And everyone's like, why didn't you just say that on Tuesday or Monday? I think part of that is because Dreams seems like a painfully difficult game to market. Difficult not just to market, but to share and to show. And this is a strong word of mouth game. And we saw that with the creator beta, right? Where it was like, hey, look, this guy's creating Dead Space. Hey, this person recreated PT. Hey, this person made an entire first person shooter. And you see that, and then that gets you talking. That gets your brain churning. That makes you realize that you're me and you don't have any talent for this kind of stuff. So you're just going to reap all the benefits of the fruit that is coming from the trees of the creators of Dreams. Anyways, and that's what that's what's going to get people in. And I think bringing out this early access demo, some number of people are going to pay the $30 for it because it's also going to get into the full game when it launches, but they're going to get in there, and not only are they going to reap, what's being sowed by much more talented people than, say, but also get in there and share the stuff and make stuff their own and see the ease of it, hopefully. And, really start pushing that game out onto Twitter, onto things like Kotaku and Polygon, and you'll get those articles and it's going to generate that buzz. And that's going to be how you sell this game. Because frankly, if you told me oh, hey, Media Molecule's new game is a game where you make a game, I'm not going to play that. But if you come to me and you're like, hey, look, someone made Dead Space in this, and you're like, what? Okay, I'm in. Why wouldn't I play that? How much is it? Okay. And that's going to be, I think, what propels Dreams to any sort of profitable success, any sort of fortuitous, success is going to be word of mouth, is going to be the early access people. It is going to be the creator beta, and not having that NDA, not having that restriction, and being able to be like, look, hey, this is what you can do in this. Not to mention there's still an actual game in there. There's going to be VR. There's going to be, all this other stuff. The community is going to grow. The creations are going to get better. People are going to figure out how to circumvent other aspects of it and do something cool. Dreams, I think, is going to be awesome. It's going to be convincing everyone else that it is too, and this is the best way Media Molecule can do that. So April 16th, if you're any remote, have any remote excitement for Dreams as a game or as an opportunity or as a tool, get in there, spend the $30, get in there, speak with your wallet, and either take the creations that people have already made and check them out, or make and contribute on your own. Because that's going to be what sells this. And if you think it's awesome, you've got to spread it. Share the stuff you make. Share the stuff you find, This is going to be a community word of mouth game. And I think if it fails, I don't know. And if it does fail, I think it's going to be a situation where it's too ahead of its time. But I think they're going about it the best way possible to garner as much traction as they can. Next news comes from Owen Good at Polygon. Driveclub is shutting down in 2020, but it's getting delisted earlier than that. We'll get there. It's not like everyone couldn't see this coming, but Driveclub is officially being towed to the Great Public Radio charitable write-off in the sky. You have 1 year to play it. The servers for Driveclub, Driveclub VR, and Driveclub Bikes all go dark on March 31st, 2020. Before then, August 31st, 2019, the games and all of their DLC will be delisted from the PlayStation Network store. After all this goes down, only the single-player modes will be playable. For a game predicated so much on multiplayer interaction, that ain't much. And of course, all the social components are no more too. Driveclub launched in 2014, but like many online-dependent games, buckled under the load from a large community at launch. For weeks after its launch, the game was still struggling with features and performances promised at E3 hype reels. Weather effects, for example, didn't join the game until more than 2 months after launch. Sony promised a PlayStation Plus edition of the game to subscribers, and it took almost a year to deliver it. Driveclub's last update came in March 2016 with the final DLC pack for the game. The same day, Sony announced that developer Evolution Studios would be shut down. So yeah, short and sweet there. that was just a beleaguered. Is that a word? Beleaguered. Problematic. It was a problematic game, and I don't know. I remember seeing it at E3 2013, 2014. There was the E3 where they showed it off, and you'd be like, look at the stitches in the seats. You can see your gloves. It is going to come out at launch. PS Plus version. And, like, none of that happened. And it just became, like, Driveclub is riddled with mistakes, riddled with bugs. It's launched. It was a choppy launch. I mean, it was enough that I never got into it, despite the fact I got the PS Plus version. Does that mean I'm going to get in there now? I don't know. I'm interested to see if this ends up charting on like one of the PSN bestsellers list and like not, let's see, for March. Well, actually no, I'd say probably for April. I'd be interested to see if like it's going to chart anywhere between now and by the time it goes delisted in August. Man, what a problem. I mean, that launch was so bad that Sony's solution to it was closing the studio that developed it. And so it's not a surprise to see it getting shut down. And you're not seeing the active cry I think you saw for people when like Warhawk or was it Starhawk got shut down. Where they're like, fine, we'll push it back 6 months. Like, we're still shutting it down, but you have 6 more months. Driveclub, they're giving you a year heads up, so I doubt they're going to be like, well, how about 18 months? You know, like, it's going to be like, you have a year. Get in there, do any trophy stuff you need to do any online stuff you need to do, get the game. I mean, it's getting delisted a year before the servers go dark, so get in there, get the game at least, and then slowly, you know, work your way towards whatever you got to do before it just becomes single player and basically is rendered useless. I don't know. Maybe I'll check out Driveclub now. It's weird. It's a weird thing that like now that it's ending, it's like, well, I should go play it. And it's like, where? It's like all the people that bought Vitas after they stopped making Vitas. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Tom, in Little Rock, Arkansas. I got my eye on you, Tom, of Little Rock, Arkansas. But I don't know. It's this weird, like, just mental thing where I'm like, the Driveclub's getting shut down. I should go play it now. It's like, that's a lot of good that's going to do the game. Me getting in there and being like, look, there's one more concurrent player. Maybe I'll check it out finally. I don't know. I don't know what you do about Driveclub. I think the world's moved on from it. I think Sony has moved on from it fucking clearly, and you have too much stuff like GT Sport and other racing games that have come and gone and come again, while Driveclub just has kind of muddled through some murky waters. Next news is a change in the PlayStation Store. This is from Cameron Faulkner at The Verge. Sony has enacted a refund policy for purchases made from the PlayStation Store. This is kicking off today, no coincidence given that Sony just cut off third-party retailers from selling digital download codes for products redeemable on the PlayStation Store. The terms for refund differ slightly depending on the type of content you're returning, but with the exception of subscriptions like PS Plus and PS Now, you won't be able to get credit back on a purchase once you play it or even download it. For pre-orders, you have up to 14 days from the purchase date to receive a refund, but only if you haven't started to download or stream the content. This includes preloading. If you're eligible to get your money back, Sony will return it to the original payment method. This is the best case scenario. Things are worse for games that are already released and all DLC, including season passes. You still have 14 days from the day of purchase to get a refund if you haven't downloaded or played the content. What's worse is that instead of getting a refund to the original payment method, you'll get PSN wallet credit. To avoid frustration with its refund policy, Sony suggests turning off the automatic downloads function so that you don't accidentally invalidate yourself from getting a refund. It's safe to say that most PS4 owners probably have the automatic downloads feature on, as it lets you jump right into the game when you get some free time. The worst part of owning a console is waiting for a game to download or even a last-minute patch to be installed. The new refund policy is Sony essentially asking its users to switch off one of the PS4's biggest conveniences for the sake of security when buying games. Subscriptions to PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Now can be refunded for 14 days of your purchase, but those two will credit your PSN wallet instead of your original payment method. Sony states that it may prorate the refund depending on how much of your subscription has lapsed, so don't be surprised if the original purchase amount isn't given back to you. Sony says that it will allow for refunds on downloaded content it deems, quote, faulty, end quote, but that's fairly nebulous phrasing. It's not likely to hand out refunds if a game is buggy, though it may do so if those bugs create issues widespread enough to be acknowledged by the developer, like when BioWare responded to Anthem randomly shutting down PS4 consoles. Given that Sony has secured exclusive rights to the sales of digital goods from its PlayStation Store, it's not surprising to see it's taking ownership of the refund process. However, given how relaxed some of the competition is, it seems lacking. Steam, for example, will refund your original payment method up to 14 days after purchasing, even if you played the game in question for less than 2 hours. Pre-orders can, this is an update to the story, pre-orders can be refunded at any point until a game is released. Then, once the payment goes through, you'll have 14 days to claim a refund, but only if you haven't downloaded the software. This post originally stated that all pre-orders were subject to a 14-day limit for refund. We regret this error. So, we talked last week, I think. What is going on with this cable? We talked last week about PlayStation revoking the ability to buy whole game codes at like a GameStop, Amazon, Best Buy, right? Like I can't walk into my local GameStop and be like, hey, Will, can I get me a digital copy of MLB The Show 19? And he's just like, boop, boop, boop. And the code prints on the receipt. He says, here you go. I go home, plug that code in, start downloading MLB The Show. I would have to go buy wallet credit, then come home, enter the wallet credit code, then go to the store and buy MLB The Show that way. So it makes sense that they're doing this refund policy this way. It makes one wonder if they're talking a digital-only system in the works, or if they're like testing things out for PS5. Like these are weird, minor infrastructural changes that aren't great, but they're better. And those are the kind of moves you make when you're making decisions predicated on something new possibly happening, right? Like, you see Sony, we've seen them a lot since the crossplay stuff with Fortnite, where you're seeing them kind of shift a little bit. You're seeing them kind of get a little shaky, you know, like draw the line in the sand with their foot and be like, gee whiz, will you still play our games? Kick the dirt. And it makes me wonder, is this all part of something bigger, something grander, that maybe we're not privy to, obviously, because again, as I like to say, I don't work for Sony. That's why I do a podcast in a basement. But it makes me wonder, like I said, if this is some part of something bigger, if an all-digital PlayStation 4 may be coming, or if they're talking an all-digital PS5, like an all-digital iteration. I almost said all-digital iteration of a PS5 or of a PS4, where you would need that buffer and that return policy if you're going to do their best to cut it out. And the other thing is you can't be shocked that they're adapting the return policy to their cutting out the middleman, right? Like, that's essentially what they're doing, is they're trying to prevent you from going to GameStop to buy the code to come home, redeem the code. Like, you want to do everything in one fell swoop. Now, I know that makes some people uneasy if they don't want to store their credit card on their system, and I get that because we talked last week about, internet security, especially within the PSN, that stuff has been compromised in the past, so it is not a surprise if there are people that are a little more hesitant on wanting to leave that stuff out in the ether like that. But I don't know. There's, like I said, there's small but weirdly kind of significant changes. And Sony's not just infrastructure and how they run things, but their policies and their statement on things and how they've come out and been like, no, we don't do these refunds. And I'm like, we do. And you got to wonder, like, okay, where's the give here? Like, why is the give here? So it's got to be part of something, like, I don't think, use Wimbly Bimbly change your return policy. I mean, granted, this was John Coder's first full day as head of SIE, so I mean, maybe this is just him being like, I want to do this. It's this now, but it's a weird change, like I said, and it's for the better. It's not great. It's good. It's better. It's an improvement, but it could still be better, especially where we still can't like gift games to people. We still can't do certain things that you can do in a Steam store. But I don't know. They're getting their bearings about them, but you can definitely see where they are kind of like adapting their digital model to be a touch more consumer friendly. All right. Next news comes from friend of the show, Colin Stevens, over at Big Time IGN, where Reddit's games subreddit shut down for April Fool's Day. So that is today when I'm recording it. Yesterday, by the time you're hearing it, which means if you're listening to this now, then if you're listening to this not live, then the statement should be up on Games talking about the Games subreddit, talking more about why they did this and whatnot. But let's get into it. The r/games Reddit has been shut down for April Fool's Day in order to shed light on the community becoming increasingly combative and derogatory towards minority and marginalized groups. The games mods created a post last night explaining exactly why the games Reddit is being shut down for a day. Until tomorrow, no posts can be created or commented on. A meta thread for a discussion on this decision will open when the subreddit goes back up tomorrow. Quote, "It's come to our attention that what has been intended to be a forum for the potential spread of knowledge and involvement in video games has instead become a battleground of conflicting ideas," reads the post. "Ordinarily, this isn't an issue. Discussion by its very nature is certain to bring argument, but when that argument descends into vitriolic attacks between individuals on a regular basis with no chance at de-escalation, that's when, put simply, something's got to give. By showing disdain or outright rejecting minority and marginalized communities, we become more insular. In this, we lose out on the chance to not only show compassion to these people, but also the chance to grow our community and diversity, the demographics of those involved in it. And diversify the demographics of those involved in it. Had a lot going on there for a second. Whether it's misogyny, transphobia, homophobia, racism, or a host of other discriminatory practices, now is the time to stymie the flow of regressive ideas and prevent them from ever becoming the norm. This is not just an issue in games or on Reddit alone. This is an issue deeply embedded in the ranging depths of the internet, frequently in communities that center around the discussion of games," end quote. The post goes on to highlight a series of comments that exemplify some of the worst instances of this growing issue and urges the community to focus on, quote, "enjoying and discussing video games together," end quote. It ends by highlighting various charities and causes, including the Trevor Project, National Civil Rights Museum, Able Gamers, Child's Play, and more. So, I frequent the games subreddit. I have seen the stuff that they're talking about. And it is frustrating because it goes back to a lot of things. Because there's the whole, I'm not trying to say this is 6-1, right? Like, it goes to the whole inclusiveness, gatekeeping kind of thing that the game sphere is trying to break out from. And I get that, and I respect that. And I think what the mods chose to do was exemplary. I think it was incredibly smart. I think it was honorable. I think it was a great time and place to execute on a proper platform. I think the blowback is going to be much larger, I think, than they maybe have anticipated, even if they've anticipated grand blowback. But we've seen it, and citing a poor example here, but citing an example nonetheless, you see it with people wishing Sekiro had difficulty sliders or difficulty mode to make the game more inclusive and more playable, more applicable to more gamers, right? Get more people in there, as opposed to getting people who are buying a FromSoft game for the first time and then going, "What do?" and the community going, "Get good." This is that on an nth scale, right? Like, this is a situation that goes beyond that. It goes to vitriolic personal attacks. It goes to, regressing into resorting to ad hominems. And we're better than that. Not just as gamers, not just as a community, but as people, we are better than that. And if we are not better than that, we've got to fucking start. And full stop. It gets to the point where so many of us, and I'm talking to the people that listen to this show that may or may not serve as gatekeepers. I have gatekept things I've loved before. Well, let's do this. Let's talk about Alex being a shitty person, right? Like, I don't want to sit there and point fingers and not, be without sin here, right? So I gatekept a lot of shit as a kid and as a teen and even into my early 20s. I was a dirty, grubby gatekeeper of the things I loved because I thought I was doing it a favor. I thought I was trying to keep this thing I loved pure, whether it was basketball, whether it was wrestling, whether it was the music and bands that I listened to. Like I would listen, when I was in high school, right? So let's take you back. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying this. Almost 2 decades, and a decade and a half. I had gotten into a whole mess of different bands, a whole bunch of stuff that you would call it at the time indie, because it was right before the pop punk explosion came, right? So there were a lot of bands I was really into. You look at stuff like Taking Back Sunday, you look at stuff like Bright Eyes, stuff like Alkaline Trio, things that I was really into, things that I loved, that I held dear to me for years. Even Jimmy Eat World, the White Stripes, things like that, just stuff that I held so close to my heart. The same way I held comic books to my heart, the same way I held wrestling and basketball and all these other things, video games, all shared parts of my most vital organ. And then it got popular. Then it became the zeitgeist. It stopped being my thing. It stopped being something that made me feel unique. It stopped making me feel me, I get that. That's a tough feeling to suffer from. It's a tough mental thing. It's a tough emotional thing to feel like you lost part of yourself because the rest of the world caught on, right? Like it's like finding a color for the first time and then being like, I'm red. I am red. Red is me. I am red. And everybody for years being red's stupid. Blue's cool. And you just wake up one day and red's cool. Now everybody's wearing red. It's that episode of Doug where Dylan Farnham dresses in the exact same way Doug dresses on that show everybody watches, Teen something. Fuck, I can't remember the name of that the show within a show on Doug. But Dylan Farnham dresses like Doug, and then everybody starts dressing like Dylan Farnham, and Doug gets pissed because everybody starts calling it the Dylan Farnham look. It's that exact same thing. And that stuff's temporary, right? Like, and you saw that in that episode of Doug if you're old like me. But the thing is we want so badly to cling to those things that make us feel like us, that if someone new comes along, if someone in the nascent phases of a fandom come along, right? And they're like, I like thing, and you don't, the incorrect response to someone coming up to you and being like, oh, you like fucking, I don't know, you like God of War? I also like God of War. The wrong answer is, who was the creative director on the PS1 God of War originally? And who gives a shit? They like it. Interact with them. Like, the one thing I know that teenage and early 20s tween Alex wanted more than anything else was to find people that liked the same stuff he did. But when I did, I got shitty. I would either just abandon the thing I loved entirely, or I would tell other people like, oh, you're not a real fan. When really, the correct way to handle this, I think, going forward, is if someone comes to me now as me who loves video games, right? We'll use Mass Effect as an example. Like, I fucking love the Elcors. I think the Elcors are one of the coolest, funniest, best parts of the Mass Effect trilogy. Like, as a species, I think the Elcors are amazing. I love the Elcors. If someone comes to me and they're like, hey, you like Mass Effect, right? I love Mass Effect. I'm not going to go straight up and be like, what was the Shakespeare play that the Elcors performed? Like, I'm not... What? Why am I going to come at them all hard like that? Who does that help? Who does that benefit? All that does, you know what that does? It makes you a poor representation of this thing you love. Or at least in this case, me. It makes me that poor representation of a thing I love. It makes that fandom look awful because that's their experience with it. And you could take that knowledge and that love and that passion and you can turn it into something positive and become a Sherpa for that brand. Become that guide for that person where if they're like, yeah, I really like Mass Effect, but I'm just now getting into it. Be like, okay, cool. Here, if you really like the lore, here are the books I'd recommend. Here are the comic series that exist. You could probably, here are the goods and bads of Andromeda. A lot of people, you're going to hear shitty things about 3. Here's why 3 is worth playing. # Mass Effect 3's ending was fine. And here's a story with this. Oh, if you like 2, who did you like in these characters? Here's what happens. Like, you could do so much good for that thing you love. And yet, instead, the internet, so many people regress into this sheltered turtle that, or maybe like a porcupine, I don't know, something more prickly, but you react and respond, in such a negative light that it just, summarily, you cannot, the TLDR of this, you can't sit there and say, God, I wish more people loved games, and then when someone comes along and goes, I love games, you can't sit there and be like, fuck you, games are mine. What does that do besides make you look like an asshole? And yes, on the internet, everybody can be an asshole because everybody can hide their anonymity behind a screen on a keyboard. I get that. We're all fearless, brave warriors in the sea of shit that is online, but it doesn't give us an excuse to behave that way. It doesn't give us an excuse when we're all the same people on the same team fighting for the same cause. And that's for not just games to be recognized as art, but for games to be recognized as a medium that we know it is. And so we keep doing these contradictory dances where we're like, respect games. The Game Awards are this great thing. Respect this thing I love. And then when people are like, hey, I want to check out games, we just hit them in the head with a bat or a pan or a living bat. I don't quit and be better. If you're someone at any point whose response to anything is you're not a real fan, debate me or some other boilerplate bullshit kind of thing, be better. Be a Sherpa. Be a guide for that thing you love. Bring people up to speed so you can share that with them and they can share it with you and you can have, conversation and whatever. You can have that stuff that you want. You've got to manifest it. Because if everybody just if nobody wanted to advance the telephone, then only one person would have the phone, right? They'd be like, no, the phone is mine. I'm Thomas Edison. Only you can call me. And they're, Mr. Edison, we don't have a phone. Shut up. Write my phone a letter. Like, you can't eat your cake and have it too, y'all. We got to be better. The more people into games, the better games become. Plain and simple. Right? You're still going to get Life of Black Tiger. Like, it's just, there's still going to be crap that gets churned out, but we can be better, and we can get more people into that thing we love. But we've got to do it. And we can't isolate or alienate people coming into it as someone new, because guess what? That was you once, just a much longer time ago. That's it. You were them once. So don't be an asshole, because you would have hated it if someone was like that to you. Moving on. This comes from PlayStation Lifestyle, Mr. Chris Pinwell. Final Fantasy VII co-director has been appointed, because God knows that game's not in enough problems as it is. Adjustments have been made to the Final Fantasy VII remake team. Naoki Hamaguchi, the former development leader for the game, has been made a full co-director with Tetsuya Nomura. The news comes from a recently updated recruitment page. Hamaguchi said on the page, quote, "The development system and base are already in place and mass production development is progressing smoothly, but from the perspective of incorporating, we will continue to seek new staff with the aim of further creativity," quote, end quote. According to him, quote, "The development efficiency has been improved." There's more to the article here, but that's pretty much just the base of it that I wanted to get to, is that the update on Final Fantasy VII is more people are involved. I think, what a joke. What a joke that's become. What the fuck? Why, this article is noisy. So we're getting rid of that. New games and dates. That was really the last bit of the news. I mean, new games and dates. This is kind of still news. Gearbox had their PAX East panel, their PAX East conference. Borderlands 3 is real, and through a deleted tweet, it may be coming out September 13th. That tweet has since been deleted, but there was a whole uproar about the trailer not being good enough. The whole press conference reveal keynote thing was real weird and uncomfortable, and Randy Pitchford did magic because why not? If you're going to go on a magician's podcast and describe in lurid detail about a cam girl, you may as well do a card trick on the next time you see people. But they announced a few other things, so we'll lump that into new games and dates here. So Borderlands 3 is a thing. It's been in development for 5 years. They also announced Borderlands Game of the Year Edition is coming to PS4. It will be in full 4K. The Handsome Collection is getting a 4K UHD upres upgrade patch. And that was the Handsome Collection. And then Borderlands 2 VR is getting all of the Borderlands 2 DLC for free. So those updates are coming imminently. They didn't give exact dates. They were all just very soon. And then Borderlands 3, the date isn't official yet, but there was a tweet that said, "We'll see you again April 3rd. So probably have more information then. But there seems to be ties that in terms of online, it's going to be Steam Store exclusive, or not Steam, Epic's game exclusive. I don't know if there was an update between me reading that and me doing this. And then also maybe September 13th, which right now is kind of a lull. And when you're going up against last year, which was like Spider-Man, Spyro, and a whole mess of other stuff, having a big game there will kind of fill that void and fill those sales numbers. Let's see. More new games and dates. Space Channel 5 is coming to PSVR, which is pretty awesome, especially if you're a Dreamcast guy like me. Enter the Gungeon, A Farewell to Arms comes out April 5th. And then let me get my dates that were on the phone here. We've got Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is coming to PS4 in 2020. The song Crab Rave is now available on Beat Saber. Project Sakura Wars is coming to PS4 next spring, and then we hit the Borderlands stuff already. So Borderlands Game of the Year, Borderlands Handsome UHD Pack, and Borderlands 2 VR DLC are all coming imminently. That is the stuff that's coming out, but if you want to know the stuff that is going to be available by the time you're listening to this, then we need to do the drop. So these are your new game releases for the week of April 2nd on the North American PS Store, subject to change without notice. Anger Force Reloaded comes to PS4 digital. Anger Force Reloaded is an action-packed, vertically scrolling shoot-'em-up that pays homage to 90s arcade classics. This high-octane experience is set in the 19th century human world, witnessing the outbreak of a robot rebellion. Beat Blaster comes to PSVR digital April 5th. Beat Blaster is a high-speed VR game about shooting and running where everything happens to the beat of the music. An original mix of styles with each level offers new challenges. Far Loan Sails comes to PS4 Digital. Traverse a dried-out seabed littered with the remains of a decaying civilization. Keep your vessel going, overcome obstacles, and withstand hazardous weather conditions. Where will this journey take you? Are you the last of your kind? Modern Tales, Age of Invention comes to PS4 Digital. Paris, 1900. During the World Expo, an unknown force kidnaps the brightest minds of the century. Step into the shoes of the daughter of one of the captured scientists, follow the captor's trail, and thwart his evil plans. Monster Dynamite comes to PS4 Digital. Boom, bang, crash, cheeky monsters everywhere. Place your explosives strategically on stacks of crates, scaffolding, and logos where the little critters are sitting. Light the fuse and bring them all down. Power Rangers Battle for the Grid comes to PS4 Digital. A modern take on the 25-year franchise, showcasing stunning graphics and an original story. Pit current and classic Rangers and villains against one another like never before in 3 vs 3 tag battles. Test your skills online against friends and players from around the world for endless replayability. Sephirothic Stories comes to PS4 Digital. Shindoa, a world protected by Sephiroth. Yep, Sephiroth, that's what it says. However, with the power of the world tree beginning to wane, countless people have been transformed into monsters. With the world on the verge of destruction, an unlikely band sets out on the adventure. Scorcery comes to PS4 Digital April 4th and is easily the worst cover art of the week. Scorcery is a fast-paced, local multiplayer sports-like game set in a tournament of mystics. Gain control of the ball, shoot it at opponent runes, and defend your own with smart maneuvering, tight controls, and powerful spells. Sword and Fairy 6, PS4, Digital. Sword and Fairy 6 is an RPG set in the stunning world of Chinese heroism and fantasy come to life. Embark on a journey to uncover ancient secrets and slumbering beasts in a world torn by warring factions and deception, while customizing your party and weapons to your heart's desire. That's it. We got a light week. And I can't think of the name of the game, but Scorcery, the setup of it, even down to its description, reminds me of stalling. Pyre. Reminds me of Pyre. I'd like to think that I was reading that. Someone was in their car or at work or like in their home. And like, oh, that sounds like Pyre. And then while I was going stalling, they just started saying Pyre louder and louder and louder. In fact, actually, Alexa, what is Pyre? Somebody hates me now. Now that brings us to Trophy Talk. Remember, Trophy Talk is the part of the show where I try to take you from 0 to 100 on a game as fast as possible. Guess what? Trophies don't matter. Because we're all going to die. Let's see. I'm going to pull 7 Enhanced Edition, which has 20 bronze, 10 silver, 5 gold, and a platinum. Let's see how we're looking here. So let's see. One of the trophies' description is just disguise. The trophy name is called Master of Disguise. Let's see. Perform 10 pickpockets, 15 drop kills, 15 backstabs. Lure opponent into your trap. Craft 5 items in the crafting station. Use the black hole skill. Use chronosphere skill. Use the smoke skill. So it's a lot of use, completes, and quantifiable trophies. Excuse me. I don't really know what this game is. Not going to lie to you. Excuse me. So I don't really know difficulty level, what we're looking at here. But some trophies have already been unlocked. There are a lot of zeros, though, across the board. So I don't know if that's just because people haven't gotten deep into it or what. Nothing looks, like I said, if the game is pretty easy, none of this stuff looks really crazy. But without knowing a whole lot about the game, the trophy list isn't exactly clear, you know? Let's see. Metagal. Metagal is that Mega Man game that I talked about last week. Mega Man looking game. Come to find out, it was published by Radalika, who notoriously have super easy platinums. And just a heads up, Metagal has 0 bronze, 0 silver, 11 gold, and a platinum. So straight Ratalika game out the butt there. And you can get the platinum in 15 minutes. And I think 30 with a guide, or 15 with a guide, 30 total. But there's plenty of videos already up on YouTube showing that. So that would be my trophy pick of the week there, would be hitting up Metagal. That really looks like it. I was going to pull Crocs World, but that doesn't have one. And yeah, the other stuff, there's really not a whole lot of new platinums. Walking Dead, the disc version, obviously, is complete the game, get all the collectibles this time around. We'll look at Bouncy Bullets. That'll be the last one we pull here, because Bouncy Bullets has 0 bronze, 1 silver, 11 gold, and a platinum. So let's just do that, and we'll call it a day. Let's take a look. Bouncy Bullets trophy list. Die for the first time. Oof, that's a trophy description I'm not going to read. Kill a just, and it's not inherently bad, clearly, because there's other color coded ones in here. It's just the phrasing, I don't like it. See, there's kill a purple or yellow enemy, accidentally kill a gray character, complete a level with 3 stars, complete 5 levels, 10 levels, 15 levels, 20 levels, 25 levels, complete 3 special levels, complete 6 special levels. That's it. And yeah, die for the first time. That can't be too difficult. So keep your eye out for Bouncy Bullets hitting the trophy, or hitting the PlayStation Store, because that looks like that's got an easy ass platinum. But that is the end of Trophy Talk, which means that brings us to the end at around a proper hour. Okay, I'll take it. This has been the PlayStation Forecast, and it does come to you each and every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/pressxtoalex and podcast services around the globe, including Spotify. And remember, if you want to get the show early, you can watch it live as it happens on twitch.tv/pressxtoalex, where you can, around 7:30, 8 p.m. every Monday, unless otherwise noted on Twitter. You can get in there. I don't look at the chat. I'll look at the chat after the show wraps up. But yeah, you can hang out, see the show happen as it happens. And remember, if you want to get your voice heard on the show, you can do it 2 different ways. One, by writing in to psforms.pressxtoalex.com, or following me on Twitter at twitter.com/pressxtoalex, where them DMs are open and those mentions are ready. So you can get in there with any questions, comments, commentaries, concerns, whatever else you got, whatever else you want to talk about. Bring it to me. We'll see if we can't find a home for it on the show. And remember, if you want to support this show, this labor of love is almost entirely self-produced and self-funded by yours truly. But you can get involved by supporting the show at the $1 tier at patreon.com/pressxtoalex, where it's $1. You know, there you go. It's that easy. That's my sales pitch. It's $1. $12 a year, and that will help, get things like the show on SoundCloud. It'll help the gear get upgraded. It'll help me get more people on the show. It'll do a lot. It helps out, and over the course of time, hopefully, we can get more people on here. I won't ever have any, content gated behind a paywall or anything like that. That's not the point of the Patreon. The point of the Patreon is to make a better product for all of you with your help. But if you don't have $1 a month, that is totally okay. The best thing you can do is share it, tweet it, follow me, retweet the show, anything like that helps spread the word and gets more eyes and ears on the product. But that is it for me. Remember, every Wednesday, I am on twitch.tv/pressxtoalex, streaming a new game from 8 to 10. It's something different every week, or I'll fall back on something like The Division or Overwatch or anything like that. This week, not sure. I'm debating maybe Astrobot, just doing a VR stream, so y'all can check that out. And there's a couple other things I'm kind of tossing around, maybe more Walking Dead. Don't really know yet. But Wednesdays from 8 to 10, I am live on Twitch. You can follow me there. You can subscribe on YouTube. Do all that other stuff. Until next time, I love you. I'll see you next week. And do the thing.